Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's your world champion here, and that's right, we're here to talk about JJK. Jujutsu Kaisen has just ended its manga serialization in Shonen Jump, and if you notice, hey, got a bit of a different look here going on. Yeah, I'm trying something new, a different layout, different place to kind of sit and record and do all my fun things and all that, so bear with me as we make some changes and all that. Don't worry, the blank wall back there, there's gonna be something there. Just gotta get a few things, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about JJK. Gege Akutami has finally finished his series in Weekly Shonen Jump, and it was okay. Like, I'm part of the group that thought that this was just an okay series. Like, I didn't have a lot of stock going into JJK, and even throughout its run, didn't really have much stock in it to begin with. Like, I mean, I didn't really dive into too much discussion with it, but, you know, there were some things that I liked in the series that I at least wanted to highlight here, because there's a lot of discourse online about JJK, and especially about its ending and a lot of the missed opportunities, which there were a bunch of missed opportunities, you know. Like, I think the main thing that kind of took me away from JJK, I want to get like the negative stuff out of the way first. Like, I think some of the things that I didn't like in JJK was some of the, I felt like there's a lack of character depth with a lot of characters. Like, don't get me wrong, like Yuji and Sukuna had some pretty good depth. Gojo, kind of, but not really. He was just kind of a weapon at the end of the day. And I mean, Megumi had some depth, you know, with his sister and all that. Nobara, when she was on screen, had a few moments that kind of stuck with me. I think the main thing with Nobara was her speech that she gave to Yuji. Like, this was like way back early in the series. They were like walking through the woods and all that, and she was talking about how she only has like a set number of seats in her life for people to sit in, and that's kind of something I kind of took to heart from this series. So I guess that's one of my takeaways from JJK as a whole, like just allowing only a certain number of people, just like quality over quantity is really what Nobara's thing is, and I kind of agree with her. You know, I would rather have quality people in my life than a bunch of people just hanging out and all that and not really giving a crap about me. Like, some of the missed opportunities too, like we didn't get to see some fights. Like, I know the one that's coming to mind is Hikari and Uraume, or however the hell you say their name. Again, not much stock in JJK, so if I get names wrong or phrases wrong, bear with me, because yeah, that's just the name of the game and all that. But like, that didn't get shown at all. There really wasn't a proper setup for Nobara's return, because like, you have the fake out death, and Gege didn't even acknowledge what actually happened to her until like the end, where it's just like, oh yeah, she was in a coma for a bit. That was it. It's just like, okay, fine, whatever. And then we have the USA's stunt where they like took Jujutsu sorcerers, or like cursed beings and all that, from the culling game. Like, we didn't even dive into any of that, you know. I think we did a little bit when Geto like showed up with them, but like even still, it's just like Geto or Getu or Kenjaku, whatever terminology or name you want to use for him. Like, I don't want to say he was a dropped ball, because I really liked his final fight with the comedy dude. I thought that was hilarious, but it was weird how I guess they're alive now. I don't know. Can somebody like help me out with that? I mean, we didn't really get to see his face because it was blocked off by a speech bubble, but like, yeah, I guess they're alive? Okay, fine. I mean, okay, that's cool, that's neat, excellent. Yuji was fine. Sukuna near the end, like, kinda shocked me, because in a way Yuji won in their little talk during his domain expansion and all that, because now it seems like Sukuna is gonna actually be a decent person and raise Uraume or in this spiritual world and all that. But hey, we got to see Mahito again, didn't we? Isn't he better than Shigaraki, guys? Isn't he? If you couldn't tell by that line, I don't believe that statement. But anyways, that's besides the point. So I mean, a lot of the negatives here and there with everything, and especially with like the culling games. Like the culling games felt really weird. Like, don't get me wrong, like the fights were cool, fights were awesome, but like it just felt kind of weird. Like it felt very scattered and all that, which I guess is the point of it. But me personally, I'm just like, this is a little too scattered for my liking. And I mean, I kind of had the same issue with like MHA's Final War, and kind of the same thing with Onigashima sometimes in One Piece, like during the Wano arc and all that. Again, that could just be a me thing and all that, but it could also be the fact that like I didn't really have much of an emotional attachment with any of these characters. And that's kind of something that I look for whenever I'm entering a series. Like, what is your emotional anchor for me? Like, why am I going to continue this series? Why am I going to root for these people? And like Yuji kind of had that at the beginning, where it's like, okay, he's learning to be a Jujutsu sorcerer. He's gonna be, getting these fingers and all that. He wants to be surrounded by all these people before he dies that he cares about and all that. But I don't know, I couldn't connect with that at all. Definitely couldn't connect with Gojo, because he's just the best. Well, I guess second best, because Sukuna killed him, but that's besides the point. And if you're gonna blame me for spoiling you, hey, maybe you shouldn't have clicked on a video talking about the ending of JJK. Let me tell you guys real quick about how like emotionally detached I was from some of these characters. So when I was first really reading JJK, I got to the part where Nanami dies. And, a lot of people were sad, a lot of people were mad at it and all that. I read the chapter, and I'm not gonna lie, I had the thought, I was just like, wait, I feel like I should be feeling more for this moment. I feel like this is a moment that's like big, that I should be like tearful and all that for. And I actually ended up going back, like it was when that chapter dropped, I ended up going back and rereading all of JJK up to then. And I think that it was barely over 100 chapters at that point. And I got back to the Nanami death, and I felt a little bit more, like I kind of felt the weight of his death, but it still didn't really do much for me. Like, I mean, I look at other sensei deaths, like Jiraiya, for example. It's just like, oh, well, Jiraiya, like, made me bawl my eyes out, Like, it's like things like that. Or, like, even Kakashi's death, quotation marks death, during the Pain arc. Like, even I felt something during that part. But, like, I don't know, man. I didn't feel anything for when Nanami died. And again, that's just a me thing. Don't hate me for that. It's just that was just the level of my emotional attachment to these characters and all that. But I mean, negatives besides the point, there were some good positives of the series. Like, for example, I loved the action of this series. Like, seeing how Gege could draw the body movements of people, and just the way he can like manipulate the sound in like a fight sequence. So like whenever I start talking about this, or whenever I think about like fights in JJK, the only fight the first fight I mean that I started thinking about is Chozo versus Yuji, because that fight was really good. The manga chapters just having like the shoes squeaking and all that, like throughout the bathroom and everything, and just the way they were coming after each other and fighting each other and all that, like through like the blood piercing and all that. Like I thought it was really well done, and the anime even like excelled beyond that level. So good on you, anime team. Good on you, Map. I hope your sweatshops are doing pretty well in this little dry season you guys are having. But like, to piggyback off of that too, so Gege's art style, so I think it fit really well with the overall tone of Jujutsu Kaisen, because like it was a very sketchy style, but like there were moments he was a little more detailed, but overall it was very sketchy, in a good way. I mean that in a good, positive way. And I even mean that in a good way, like with my next example here, because there were some moments where Gege, he couldn't finish a chapter. And the chapter I think of immediately when I think of that statement regarding JJK is when Maki was massacring the Zen'in clan, because that chapter came out, it was unfinished, and so like it was really sketchy. Like, but I think that matched the tone so well for that moment, because it's like the swelling of emotion and like this badassery of Maki, and just like I think it really helped kind of drive home the fact that like she is different now. Like she has become a different being, and like even her movement now is different. Like she's become even beyond that of a Super Saiyan, you know? Like she has reached that kind of levels of Jujutsu sorcery. And I think with the sketchiness and the, you know, with lack of a better word, the unfinishedness of that chapter specifically, really helped kind of hammer in that part. Because like she's not being a good person here. She is killing people. Like, yeah, say what you want about the Zen'in clan, because yeah, they were a lot of shitty people in that. It's still kind of shitty to kill people, no matter who you are, whether you're a good person, bad person. It's still a bad thing to do. And I think again, the sketchiness kind of added to that part, and just kind of adding to kind of the despair that one would feel when they're pulling off an act like that. So I do wanted to at least point that out. The other thing is, of course, the power system, because as many people have pointed out, cursed energy has a lot of similarities to Nen, because there's a lot of versatility when it comes to using cursed energy. Like, I mean, we had somebody use freaking pachinko machines for their ability. I mean, that's crazy. We had another guy who made an entire universe of comedy to fight somebody. I mean, that's insane. That's bonkers. And then like you can also enhance yourself a lot like Nen. Like there's a lot of just good similarities. You know, you could really tell that Gege took a lot of inspiration not only from Hunter x Hunter, but as we see with the whole idea of domain expansions, kind of took some stuff from Bleach, which I mean is cool, because like a lot of powers in Bleach, like especially when you go into like the Quincy's and the Stern Ritters and all that, a lot of those powers are kind of like domain expansions. So, you know, Gege saw that and was just like, all right, well, let me try my hand on that. Like, let me see what I could do with that. And I thought you did pretty well with the whole domain expansion thing. I'm hoping we get a name for Yuji's domain expansion, because I don't think we got that in the manga from what I recall. And yeah, hopefully like some data book gives us a name of it. And who knows, maybe the name of it is Jujutsu Kaisen, because hey, the Jujutsu Kaisen was the friends we made along the way, which is kind of goes into what the overall message here is. Like, I was listening to some people talk about it and kind of reading some stuff here and there, and like, there's a few messages I took away from JJK. First of all, this is basically a power of friendship thing. Now, before you crucify me in the comments below, hear me out, because a lot of what they were doing was for each other, and especially with Yuji, because again, he wanted to surround himself with the people that he cared about, and people that would love him, and people that would, you know, mourn him when he died, and that way he could die happy knowing that he was surrounded by these awesome people, these good people. And again, that's just power of friendship right there, you know, because they helped each other out. There was a lot of teamwork going on in JJK, which I also appreciate too. Like, I love a good tag team match, so play, give me some tag team action. So I like that message. And I also like this message too, like at the end, because like a lot of people don't like this last chapter, which again, I don't blame them, but I think it's really powerful when you think about it within JJK, because like JJK itself is kind of a negative series. Like, I mean, even its power system is a very negative power system, using cursed energy and negative energy and all that. But like, the series itself, again, is a very negative series. I mean, I think there was a point in the beginning of the manga where somebody literally says, hey, if you sign up to be a Jujutsu sorcerer, you're basically signing a death wish. Like, you're signing your death certificate right there, because like there's a big turnover rate, because people kick the bucket and all that. I'm gonna try not to say the D word so much so YouTube's algorithm doesn't hate me too much. The whole world of Jujutsu Kaisen, or at least like being a sorcerer and all that, is filled with tragedy. And that's why like the one complaint of, oh, we didn't even have a funeral for Gojo, or we didn't even go to his grave or anything, we only went to freaking Megumi's sister's grave, is like, that's fine. Because again, like, their culture in that universe and in Japan and all that, like, all of that it's very negative. Like, they're used to tragedy, and the thing that they do when somebody dies is move forward. And we see that with like Gojo's speech in this final chapter being like, no matter what happens to me, I want you to keep going, Yuji. I want you to keep going, keep living, and keep excelling. Even if I die, which I don't plan on it, but if I do, just keep going. And it really kind of speaks wonders when like you look back at when Gojo died, because like as soon as he died, everyone started charging in at Sukuna. And again, like him being the raid boss, you kind of had to like do the chip damage and all that stuff. I think that's just a good message to kind of show people, just like, hey, you know what? Tragedies suck. Tragedies happen. It's a thing, but you can move forward. You got to move forward. And I think that's why the last 2 chapters were the way that they were, because life goes on no matter what. I've faced my own tragedies in life, things happen and all that, but like I've had to move on. I've had to pick myself up and keep going. And that's basically the message here at the end, is just like, pick yourself up, keep going, and you'll be able to succeed eventually. I'm excited to kind of revisit the series, knowing that like, because that's the other thing, like Sukuna, even like he listened to Yuji. He took Yuji's words to heart and was just like, all right, you know what? Yeah, maybe I can do something more. Maybe I can be something better. Because again, he had a short little conversation with Mahito, and he just went off his own way with Urame. And they're doing whatever they're doing in the spirit world and all that, and Mahito's just flipping out like the little bitch that he is. So, is there going to be a sequel series? I don't know. I mean, it's left open enough to bring a sequel series. I mean, again, there's a lot of plot threads that people are complaining about, which, rightfully so. I mean, I'm fine if this is the ending too. And I think a final like grade, I guess, or like ranking, probably a 7 out of 10, at least right now. Because I think when I get to the rewatch or reread or whatever of Jujutsu Kaisen, now that we have the full picture, I think I'm going to be paying attention more to Sukuna and Yuji, and especially their interactions. Because like, the more I start thinking about it, the more I look back on it, it's like, I kind of look at moments like Shibuya, for example. I'm wondering like, because obviously Sukuna was trying to push Yuji far. Like, he was trying to push him to the brink of despair. And, I mean, he won that with Megumi, but he couldn't do that with Yuji for some reason. I mean, again, Yuji's just a happy boy most of the time. So, I don't know. I would like to go back to kind of look at those interactions again and see what was foreshadowed to kind of get us to this moment, if anything was foreshadowed. And maybe my 7 out of 10 ranking would change after that. But, I'm just going to leave it off there, because again, like, I thought it was fine. Like, I thought the whole series was fine. I mean, there are people out there that, do dissect JJK to an nth degree, which, good on them. People need that in their lives so that way they can better understand the series. Me, I'm not that kind of person, especially with something that's like, I just think is okay. And again, that's just fine. So you know what? Let me know down in the comments what you thought of the series as a whole. Just remember, be respectful, like what you like, don't be a dick, all that wonderful stuff. Be sure to like the video if I entertained you in any way, shape, or form, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss next week's video, as well as any of the content that I end up producing. I think I can do community notes now. I noticed that the other day, so stay tuned for that. Like, there'll be some news, some updates and all that on the community tab, and check out the description. There's a bunch of links to social networks, all that wonderful stuff. And as always, people, I've been your world champion, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.
I don't need you, better things are coming on the way.